All right, in this tutorial, I'm going to show you guys about how you're using groups in Photoshop. We use groups to help kind of organize our files so that when we're opening up our layers, we can find things and we're not looking at like hundreds of layers. We can open up a certain group, we can organize these things into groups. And particularly if we're building multiple things, multiple groups can help us with, in this particular case, Unity. So as you can see, groups are like little folders, and if you go right down here at the bottom of your layer palette, you'll see a little icon like a folder. That's where we create groups. In this particular instance, we have a Heinz 57 ad, and so the name of the group is Heinz 57 ad. And everything in this group is going to be all the elements that we see here that create the ad. Again, really helpful that you have things named what they are. So right here, the Heinz logo. So if I turn the eyeball off, my Heinz logo disappears. We group things together. So as we can see here, the headline, savor your flavor. All of those words are in one group within the group called the headline. So our little background here where it says delicious, we have a subgroup called the delicious pattern that when I open it up, there's all my words that I use to create the pattern. You can even, so we'll show you here as well, I might select my top yellow, my bottom yellow, and my background blue. I'm going to select all three of these guys. I'm going to create a new group, double click on it, and name it my background. So that's all organized together. When I open it up, there it is. And so by using groups, it allows us to organize our Photoshop files a lot cleaner, not just for ourselves, but if I have to pass this file on to somebody else, they can open it up, and just by naming layers what they're supposed to be, which is one of the worst habits I see in a lot of starting out graphic designers. They can open this file up and they can also have it organized by layers so that if they need to change this background, they know how to change it. And that's how we use layers and create, how we use groups and create groups so that if I wanted to build multiple ads in a file, then I would create multiple groups. And so there's one ad, there's another ad, there's a third ad, and they're all in their own groups that if they needed to make changes to this particular one, they could open up that group and it's all named what they need to be, and they can access whatever they have to access. And this is why the groups can become important for us in Adobe Photoshop. So like for this one, say we want to duplicate this group because they want to put more in there, so I would just drag it to the copy layer folder and it creates a new ad for me. And we'll say that we're going to put this Worcestershire bottle in it for a second ad. So, but they want it all to be the same. They want this all to fall into the same spots. They're just replacing the Worcestershire bottle. So we would duplicate that group, and we're going to call this helps if I spell it correctly, huh? Okay. So everything's going to stay the same except the Heinz bottle is going to go away. But I'm going to want to leave this in here for a second so that I can size my Worcestershire bottle. So I'll just drag that in here and move it in there like so. And as you can see, all those layers, we're going to get rid of them because we just want this one ad. Okay. So I'm going to take my bottle and we're going to kind of position it into place where we want it for proportions purposes and set it right in there. So now I can delete, because this is a separate group, I can delete that. And now I have two ads. And if I wanted to go in and manipulate things further, so we'll say, for example, maybe I want to change that yellow to something that's like more of a brown. So I'll double click on it and get my color overlay up and going, and click on my color overlay instead of that golden yellow. I'm going to make it like a kind of a brown. Click OK. And see, I'm not having to recreate these guys again. I'm not having to reposition everything again, and just building right on what I have, but it's just in the second group. And we'll hit the blue and the color overlay on him, and instead of blue, let's make him that kind of golden yellow there. Do a color overlay for Delicious, and instead of it being that kind of gray, whoops, we don't want gray, I want a color overlay. There we go. And now I have two ads. I have one ad that is my Heinz ad, and then one ad that is my Worcestershire ad. And because of groups, I've made a lot of the work a lot easier because it keeps things organized and I'm not having to rebuild everything. And that's how we use groups in Adobe Photoshop.